So the Marvels, it's clearly a masterpiece. Brie Larson, the Flurkins, the nonstop comedy. I mean, this is fucking cinema right up there with the greats and will stand the test of time as a brilliantly coherent work of art, okay?
Having just watched The Marvels, I'm struck with the feeling that this is incredible cinema. I was mesmerized when the three main characters join up at a Skrull refugee colony on the planet Tarnax, and Dar-Ben rips open another jump point. I felt like I was witnessing the birth of a new world of filmmaking.
When I came out of the cinema after watching The Marvels, I felt sad, frankly, that everything I'd achieved, from Jaws to E.T., had been usurped and swept away by this dazzling new masterpiece. When Dar-Ben, the new leader of the Kree, retrieves one half of the quantum bands, I realized that this is the single greatest work of filmmaking this century.
The Marvels turned out to be the most erotic, sensual depiction on screen of women I've ever seen. A total disaster for the cynics and a celebration of overdue progressive messaging. I was delighted, and am looking forward to seeing this masterpiece many more times.
Sometimes a film surprises even me, and this was true with The Marvels, which turned out to be, well, easily the best film I've ever seen. The musical number in the middle honestly had me dancing in the aisle with unbridled joy. This was the MCU in all its glory.
It's possible that if there is a multiverse, there might be a timeline where The Marvels is okay. But in our universe, it's just a poorly written, poorly edited, poorly paced, dysfunctional movie. It's a narrative and visual clusterfuck, the starkest evidence that the MCU's cultural influence and relevance continues to diminish at a rapid pace. The Marvels has arrived after torturous delays at an inflection point for the studio, and at a time of generally accepted superhero fatigue. This time, Captain Marvel is joined by two characters from the small screen, Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, a Captain Marvel superfan from Jersey City and Disney+, and Monica Rambeau, an astronaut introduced as an adult in the series WandaVision. Nick Fury, meanwhile, offers little other than a smart-ass quip or two. Most audience goers won't have any clue who the other women are, other than perhaps having seen them in trailers or in the occasional episode of tonally and thematically disparate shows. They will not know what their backstories are, and will have to rely on contrived, momentum-killing info dumps and exposition to get a sense of how and where they fit in. It is an unreasonable amount of homework for a feature with little to recommend it. Mainstream audiences have long since lost any sense of cohesion of what belongs and what Marvel timeline, have struggled to keep up with, let alone stay invested in the various phases and limitlessly relativist notions of the multiverse. Into the woman's lives comes a villain. She has grievances with Captain Marvel and is now bouncing around the galaxy, opening up portals and stealing the atmosphere, seawater and sunlight from other planets that she figures she is owed. Somehow, interacting with one of these portals has caused the three Marvel buddies to become entangled at a quantum level, and now when any of them use their superpowers, they swap places with one of the others. All of this is convoluted, and much of the plot has to be meted out to you rather than shown to you. There's an old adage in politics, if you're explaining, you're losing, and that functions as a good analogy here. Dar-Ben's campaign of intergalactic destruction is wearying. She is an underwhelming villain, the latest in a whole stable of underwhelming or problematic MCU villains. Watching The Marvels, your abiding feeling isn't one of schadenfreude or contempt or droll amusement. It's just a kind of sadness. The astounding squandering of $273 million, the sense that whatever concept they initially had became so enmeshed and unworkable that the successions of writers could no longer really extricate the film in any sensible or cohesive way, and the reshoots, impositions of overdubbed new lines, variations of tested runtimes and other interventions weren't able to engage test audiences. The other sense that comes from this movie is of no one in the production being particularly invested in it. The director, having come from a successful modern horror flick with a degree of cachet in Hollywood, may have been ambivalent about helming such a large-scale genre film, but drawn by the opportunities in terms of finance and profile. Brie Larson may have been nonplussed about sharing the spotlight with two other protagonists. Samuel L. Jackson, in the midst of the Secret Invasion debacle, may have been detached somewhat from the whole thing. The studio, spinning numerous plates with short-term and long-term issues, may have become desperate to be done with the film. And the audience, having found Phase 4 dubious and patchy, and with superhero fatigue having set in, have clearly been wary about this feature with its unignorably difficult gestation period. The culmination of all this is a film with no heart or soul that feels unsure of its own aesthetic, which is sometimes gaudy and camp and cartoonish, other times more conventionally sci-fi. The film seems at a more abstract level to be even self-conscious of its tonal mishmash. It's short, only about an hour and 45 minutes, so the emotional connections and stakes feel forced and rushed. Heartfelt moments between Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau are stilted and inauthentic. The visual effects are strangely hideous, given the budget. Giant boulders look like chunks of styrofoam spray-painted grey. There is bright, flat lighting. Action sequences are rapid and over-choreographed. Characters soar like fireballs across the stars to pummel each other. Tonally, the film swings from exciting adventure to comedy to drama, and in trying to juggle all of these elements, it never really finds its groove. Iman Vellani is an appealing performer with comic timing and a sparkly persona. I like her, but she is stuck for too long in one-note fangirl mode. The MCU is in severe decline. Even the reviews going to bat for this film have an almost stubbornly contrarian vibe to them, as if the film is bracing and endearing and full of vitality, and it is only the efforts of disgruntled and hyper-coordinated masculine meanies who are thwarting the appreciation the film deserves. Well, no. However you spin it, the reality is, mainstream audiences just aren't really into this kind of shit anymore. And everyday filmgoers have a sharper ear for pretense and contrivance in filmmaking than any defenders of a film like this are willing to concede. 4 years on from the dizzying heights of the Infinity Saga, this is where the MCU is at. A $273 million film whose strongest draw is cats.